British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced the closure of all UK pubs, restaurants, cinemas, gyms as part of the containment measures. Britain has almost 4,000 confirmed cases, but the real number could be much higher as testing has so far been limited. Government scientists say the virus is spreading quickly across London and many people have ignored advice to stay home.
Last orders called in an attempt to hamper the spread of the coronavirus. Despite government warnings to stay home and self-isolate, pubs in the British capital remained full. On Friday, the Prime Minister addressed the country.
I do accept that what we're doing is extraordinary. We're taking away the ancient, inalienable right of freeborn people of the United Kingdom to go to the pub.
To help cover the wages of workers hit by the outbreak, the government is stepping in for the first time in history.
Government grants will cover 80% of the salary of retained workers, up to a total of £2,500 a month. That's just above the median income.
The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge made a morale-boosting visit to a London call centre, paying tribute to the healthcare workers battling the crisis. Meanwhile, the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh are self-isolating at Windsor Castle. Despite the new restrictions and rising death toll, people are maintaining a pragmatic perspective.
It's a bit scary because I drive buses, but I just carry on. I'm just carrying on. I'm not going to let it affect me. I still have to supply for my family.
For now, the country is grinding to a halt, likely for many months to come.
We're now joined by DW correspondent Charlotte Potts in London. Charlotte, scientists believe the outbreak in London is weeks ahead of the rest of the country. Why didn't authorities act sooner to shut down the capital?
Well, scientists have been urging Prime Minister Boris Johnson to react sooner as London has become the hotspot of infections. We just don't really know how many infections because testing is only done for severe cases at the hospital at this point. But the death toll is rising at a faster rate than in Italy at the moment. There are approximately over 170 deaths in the country recorded. So Prime Minister Boris Johnson always has said that he would do the right measures at the right time. And yesterday, the time was right to close the pubs and restaurants, theatres and cinemas. Schools and nurseries have already shut their doors yesterday, so basically locations where people can gather. But for now, this is only a partial lockdown and, for example, shops remain open, so we can expect probably tougher measures to come in the next days ahead.
And how are people reacting to these measures? What's the mood on the streets there in London?
Well, it's extremely divided. There are some people who are still in absolute denial and who have been going out to the pubs, as we saw in the piece earlier, have been enjoying themselves in the theatres up to yesterday. So that is about to change, and it is just slowly setting in here that the city will quiet down. But I've also talked to those who can no longer keep calm and carry on, who have been hitting the grocery shops, for example. Stockpiling has been extreme here in London. I went to the shop yesterday and already in the morning there was no fresh milk anymore. The shelves were absolutely empty, and that is one of the big worries. Where is the food going to come from? Is that going to last for everybody here in London? And another big worry of the Londoners is the healthcare service in comparison to other European countries. Intensive care beds are scarce in this country, and the question that many Londoners are asking, will our healthcare service be able to cope if the number of deaths is rising?
What about the economic impact of the coronavirus then? What are the current projections for the UK?
Well, it's going to hit a lot of people very, very severely. A lot of people have already lost their jobs. Those who work in the tourism industry, for example, the tourists, of course, are avoiding London at this point, but also those that are self-employed who now have to live off the allowances that the government gives them. The government has announced some extraordinary measures yesterday to help those that are affected by the crisis, promising to pay up to 80% of their wages. But just to give you a very quick example, the 6 London airports, for example, have said they might shut down within a matter of weeks if the government doesn't help out more. So a lot of people very severely affected by this economic crisis.
Indeed. DW's Charlotte Potts, thanks very much for the update.